Is this a historic move really by the Board of Control for Cricket in India, or there is still a long way to go and there's more to be done? Let me take this across to my guests who are joining me on the broadcast. Ayaz Memon, sports writer and commentator, and who's joining us, and also joining us on the broadcast is Mr. Prahlad Khakkar at Guru. Ayaz, I'll take this across to you first. Do you think this is a step in time, or there's more to be done?
Well, I mean, this is an epochal moment. You know, it's a remarkable decision taken by the BCCI, which is otherwise very, very conservative in its approach, as we've seen. And I think this was much needed. I think this is a giant, big step, but obviously this is not the last step. There are many more steps that need to come. I just want to dwell on one thing. The pay parity has been made for matches played. So a woman cricketer and a male cricketer playing a test match will get the same amount of money. I think where the issue is, where there's a bit of a problem, is that the male cricketer is playing maybe 10 test matches in a year, maybe 25 ODIs and maybe 20 T20s, while a female cricketer is playing maybe one sixth or 1/7 of those number of matches. And therefore the net earnings, if you see, will not be the same unless the number of matches for the women's cricketers also increases. But that is going to happen only if there's all-round development of the women's game. There is no real domestic structure for women's cricket in India. You know, the talent pool is not big enough. So, you know, the point was raised about central contract for in the category A, B, and C. Actually, the fact is we don't have enough number of women cricketers. But this could be a big first step. Once young girls know that there is a livelihood to be made from playing sport, and cricket is going to have a big effect on other sports, I think that's the big development which I'm seeing. You know, this is going to have a cascading effect on other sports. Then more and more girls will want to get into sports. You know, societal conservatism will have to change. They'll have to allow more girls to play sports. So in that sense, I think this is a fabulous step which has come around. And yes, the BCCI needs to go further and give women's cricket a boost right from grassroots level to the number of matches played at the international level.
So that's a very, very good point that you've made, Ayaz. Let me take this across to Mr. Khakkar. You know, how does that change, Mr. Khakkar? Don't you think when it comes to the BCCI, I mentioned one of the richest boards in the world, don't you think that needs to be done? That infrastructural expertise needs to be put in so that this boost to women's cricket is actually given?
I think that's what they're in the process of doing. You know, they did that for men's cricket. They went down to grassroots level, but it wasn't done right from the beginning. It's very recent. It's only about 10 years old. And the reason why it was being done, and especially the women are getting the benefit of it, is because the men's cricket team is winning all the time. See, the whole business operates around one factor. Are you a winnable team? If you have a winnable team, then you get a huge fan following. If you get a huge fan following, you get a lot of advertising backing it. If you get a lot of advertising backing it, then you get a lot of sponsorship. So everything is based on winnability. Now, the fact is that the girls have come up to the semi-final twice or the final twice and lost. But they're still not good enough. They have to win and win consistently for them to actually have a huge boost in terms of following. So everything, you know, you can clap with both hands. Because when the girl says that if you give us more money, it will incentivize us. I think it's the other way around. I think they should be incentivized and passionate about the game to be able to do better so that they get more money.
Okay. Ayaz, would you agree? Because if we actually look at statistics, I'll come back to you, Mr. Khakkar. Men and women, when it comes to the cricketing tournaments, they have been fairly head-to-head. We have to give it to them.
Well, I think the Indian women's cricket team is in the top 3 in the world, you know, along with Australia and England. India is in the top 3 in that cluster. They're ahead of other teams, but there are not enough teams playing, even from the associate members. And I think that, you know, in India, I'll just support what he says about one thing. The minute you start winning, and certainly in New India, people in India, in the India that we live in today, they want winners. You know, in the old days, they wanted people who would play at the international level, do well, get recognition from their peers, etc. That mindset has changed very rapidly. I was in Australia watching the Indian women's team play the Australian women's team in the World Cup final in T20 in March 2020. And 90,000 people turned up. The support by fans in Australia was absolutely fantastic to watch. Now, if that kind of fan following also emerges in India, you'll find that the sponsorship will increase and a lot of things then start settling down. Ultimately, what we are talking about is also not just sport, but the business of sport. How much will the broadcast rights for women's cricket command?
Yeah.
What if the IPL teams are put up? What will the franchises pay to own a team? What will be the purse given to the players? For the players, what kind of purse is given or decided upon, which will mean how much each player will earn from playing in the IPL. All that will have to be sorted out and factored in. But I think we have made a giant move ahead. I think it set the whole cricket world buzzing today.
Absolutely.
New Zealand did it first, yes.
Absolutely.
But New Zealand is, the impact of what Indian cricket does, and now also to what it does in women's cricket is huge. It's humongous. And you'll find that this will have a cascading effect, not just in the cricket world, but also in other sports played in India.
Absolutely. Mr. Kakkar, this point of promoting, ample promotions being given to these female cricketers, that needs to be done so that they have that kind of level playing field. That's when people like you also come in. I was just speaking to a very, very young star, Preeti Bose. What will it take for that mindset to change? Because generationally, we, of course, are male cricket leaning people in, the cricket crazy country like India is. What will it take for promoting young stars like a Preeti Bose if she wins, the World Cup for the country, and why not? Why is it not done?
And she'll be the toast of the day. Every like when Sania Mirza, won the doubles at Wimbledon. Look at the amount of promotion she got, and tennis is not even a popular game in this country. So if Sania Mirza can get the kind of promotion she got because she won at Wimbledon. Then so will Preeti Bose. So whoever else, whichever players that you're talking about, are going to be a part of a winning combination. What you all don't realize is that in this country, we only understand winners. We don't understand second best. They're okay, we'll watch them on television. We won't make a physical presence to try and watch them actually on playing field. It takes an effort from both sides. So if you're winnable, and if you win a couple of tournaments on the trot, you'd suddenly find everything exploding around them. And that's what it's all about. And you don't win because you're paid money. You win because you're passionate about the game. You win because you got a killer instinct. And that doesn't come because you paid money. That is either exists in you or it doesn't.
Ayaz, women's IPL. Do you think this, of course, also is going to cut it?
Yes, I think that's also a big move ahead, and this was announced a couple of months back. So things are really moving fast. The point I was trying to make is that we can say that BCCI has taken a long time. I come from the era when women cricketers like Diana Adalji, Shanta Rangaswamy, and some of the others paid from their own pocket to play.
Correct.
That we've come a long way from them. That was about 35, 40 years ago. But now, Indian women have been given permission by the BCCI to play in the Big Bash League for women, in the 100 tournament in England, for just to give them more exposure. And through their exposure, when they come back and the young girls they meet and they play against, they get the expertise which is transmitted to them. And now comes the IPL. Apart from the pay scales being becoming equal now, the IPL is going to be a big number. What will be interesting to see is how many takers are there for the 6 teams and at what value. You remember when the men's IPL started in 2008, everybody first was a little skeptical ki pata nahi kya tamasha hoga. But the big boys of industry and the glamour industry jumped in and the IPL took off and then never looked back. In fact, now the IPL is amongst the 4th or 5th largest sports property in the world, the men's IPL. How far women's IPL can go will actually depend on how astutely this franchise sale is managed, what kind of monies comes in, what kind of broadcast rights come in. And that then, ultimately you're looking at 26% coming to the players. Then that becomes of significant value in terms of money terms. But, first thing is peg the value of the sports property itself. And then the value for the players will follow.
Yeah.